Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the beautiful USA. And if you are overseas, it's already Super Saturday morning. And I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, I've become known here. And my method is simpler, faster, better. And I am so pleased to welcome Miss Julie C. Griffin from Washington State, not Washington East Coast, right?
Correct.
Correct. So Julie fooled me a little bit, and I was thinking, how is her time the same as mine? It's like, duh. And then I realized, oh, she's the other Washington, not Washington, D.C. So you've been on a road trip this week, and I was inspired by your posting and how much you got done in a day. So that might be a little theme around, how we use time productively. But tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're passionate about helping people and processes do similar but different things to what I do. So how about it?
All right. Well, I am Julie Griffin, and I am in Washington State now, or based out of Oklahoma, though. So grew up here and have been up here visiting family and enjoying the reprieve from the heat and humidity that Oklahoma has this time of year. So talking about being a road warrior or being on the road.
Right, yeah.
I guess that was today's Friday. So that was Wednesday. Like I have to think really hard about what happened when. But I that day did training with the company in the morning and then hopped on a plane and was back here by bedtime. So that was kind of a fun and different experience for me because normally travel's not in my wheelhouse.
Sure. Yeah, and actually the other common ground around where you live is that I used to work for a corporation not far from you. So so I was, before COVID, I was truly a road warrior. I was 3 weeks out of 4 on the road, and I would cover, I had 32 suppliers in California, Washington, and Oregon. So yeah, so I never knew what time zone I was in. And I used to lose track of, okay, which Marriott am I in? It's like, because they all kind of look alike and sound alike and feel alike. But anyway, and then I discovered the benefits of Airbnb. So I don't know about you, but I got so burned out on hotel brands. There's nothing wrong with hotel brands. They do a great job, but I just got so burned out with the sameness of them. And that once I started doing Airbnbs with Superhost, it's kind of cool. It's so much better, way more flexible. So
good to know.
Yes.
I will definitely keep that in mind if travel becomes a more regular thing for me, because I'm always looking for ways to improve and do things differently, and I love learning from others. So that is awesome.
Yeah, if you like, and also if you like to control the way you eat and how you eat,
definitely.
The Airbnb mantra is, it's like, moving into somebody's little mini apartment or big room in a big house with a Superhost. I mean, so that's why I love it, because I like the flexibility to have my similar routine, because, I'm a process guy, so I kind of have some routines. Imagine that.
Yep, I understand.
Routines are good. My morning routine is really important to me, where I take my own breakfast and I take all my own supplements, and the only thing I usually take from where I'm staying is tea or coffee, and even then, and sometimes I take my own. So I love the flexibility of not having to do the hotel thing or whatever. And even if I travel with somebody else, I'm still like, you go do your thing. I'm doing my thing because it works best for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really kind of a good lead in to, I mean, if we want to pivot and talk about what I do, because I think knowing yourself and what works best for you is half the battle sometimes, or even more than that, because once you realize how you work and why you are the way you are, you can adapt to that. And adopt those processes and adopt those habits that really fuel you in a good way, and work with your body's natural tendencies as opposed to working against them. And I think the example of controlling your food is a great example, because I'm the same way too. I eat, if I had to define it, like dirty paleo, basically. And when you're at a hotel, like it's lots and lots of carbs or lots and lots of sugar. And when that's your only option, you have a tendency to, well, this is all I have and it's free, so might as well. But it really doesn't serve you in the long run.
Right.
And so it's the same way with your working processes, is once you realize what works for you, you can embrace those and make choices that reinforce those habits or situations that do put you on that path to success.
Right. Yeah. Well, look, I gone super goosebumpy. Look at this. I told you we find stuff in common because we're probably more alike than disalike. But and you know what you talk about there, it's not only at the individual level, but once you start putting cross-functional teams together or multidisciplinary, depending on what type of industry you're in. But one of the things I found that I see a lot of leaders of those teams do is they try and take away that individualization because they're taught, well, you got to do standardized or standard work. And what a lot of people don't realize is that standardization and standard work is not rigid. It's standardization or standard work around what works best for me when I'm in my power zone, right? Because if you can get the whole team in their own individual power zone and get it all joined together or loosely linked together, and it's kind of like a bowl of spaghetti, right? The spaghetti only tastes real good when you got all the strands nicely linked together, right, in the bowl. So I don't know about you, but I find that having to really spend a lot of time with the executives on that about, hey, you know, you just got, it's kind of like you got to like let go of the reins a little bit and let the because most people go to work to do a great job. Most people do not intentionally roll out of bed, open their eyes, put their feet on the ground and say, okay, what am I going to go screw up today at work?
Right.
Fun,
exactly. Right? Exactly. Yeah. It's not what they want to do intentionally anyway. Sometimes it happens. And like, I know somebody that if something is going to go wrong, it will go wrong when he's driving it, touching it, using it, whatever. It's just like he's Murphy. But you mentioned like it applies to individuals and also with teams. And I think that is a huge thing, especially with organizations and especially leaders or managers who are moving up kind of in the food chain, is recognizing that not everybody is like me. Not everybody works the same way I do. Not everybody views the world the same way I do.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I love helping people recognize, is that what works best for you doesn't always work best for other people. Right. And recognizing their individual strengths and abilities and seeing how they can meld together for the better of the whole organization is okay. Like, we may do things differently, but as long as we're on the same team and we're working toward the same goal, the work can happen differently, and it's okay.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, I found that actually, you know, we were chatting offline, you know, process improvement is not it's not a mystery. It's not a phenomenon that you can't understand. It's very simple. And as I shared with you, I found approximately 60% what I call people engineering, which is really that individual work with not only the executives, but the leaders and the up and coming leaders, more importantly, that won't have the bench strength or the experience. And then 40% process. And if you work on particularly the up and coming managers, leaders, supervisors, if you work on helping them to understand that we don't all suddenly switch on our power zone at the same time in the same day. Is your sister there?
Right. Yeah, she just brought me coffee. Sorry.
Oh,
no,
you can say hi. Tell her hi. Is she there still? She
just walked away.
Oh, okay. She's shy. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Yeah. Hey, I want one.
So,
hey, I got my
brought me some go-go juice.
Go-go juice.
Yeah.
I've got my own tea blend in here, so
that's
I
good.
Have my blended tea, which, talking about being a road warrior, that's why I take my own tea with me sometimes. So I love my tea blend, and it only needs hot water. I even take all my tea making gear with me. So talk about
when we drove up here, I brought my own box of tea and my little jar of honey because I was like, that way I can have my own tea. Because usually I don't drink coffee. I try and stay away from caffeine. But sometimes it's just needed. So
you'll be super amped up tonight.
Probably.
Coffee, live stream, looking at things afterwards. Oh my God. Yeah.
All jazzed up, for sure. But I wanna come to something that you said about not everybody switches on at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is one of the huge things, especially with the time management training and productivity training that I do with groups, companies, individuals, however you want to look at it, is finding when they do turn on. Because not everybody has that same power zone, I think you called it earlier.
Yes, I did.
And
it's true.
It absolutely true. So like I'm one of those weird ones, I guess you could say. Like I'm a night owl. Like my brain does not start firing until like 4 p.m.
Me
like
too.
4 to midnight, I can get so much done.
Yeah.
And other people are like, what? Why? And I'm like, it's just the way I'm wired. And I've learned that I can get, if I allow myself, like, all right, this is what's most important right now. This is when I'm at my best. I will wait to work on this until I'm in that zone. Absolutely. And even if it's only an hour or two, if it's in that right zone, I can get more done than if I had started at 8 a.m. and tried to just grind through it all day long. Because it would take me all day. I would be more frustrated. The work wouldn't be as good. And why work against yourself like that? There's a lot of those productivity hacks and lists out there about, how to get more done. It's like eat the frog first thing in the morning.
No, I don't like frogs.
It doesn't work for everyone. Like you have to find what works for you and lean into that. And I'll never forget, I was doing a training with a group one time and explaining how some people are like larks, like early bird people. Some people are night owls, and a lot of people fall in the middle. And this lady was like, I know why my husband and I fight so much now. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And I had just gone through the part about, recognizing that we're not just employees working 8 to 5 jobs. Like we are people on the weekends too. And so if you've got like an important task that you need to do or a project that you need to do, work on it when you're at your best. Save folding socks and doing dishes for when you're shot. And she's like, I get it now because I'm a lark. I want to get up and go and do things. And my husband is an owl. And so by the time he's ready to get up and do something, I'm ready to crash. And so it was cool to see her connect the dots between like what we think of typically as like work tips of how she could apply them to her personal life too. Because we are whole people. We're not just workers.
Yeah. And you said so many things. Hi, Joshua Lee. Thanks for jumping on.
Yes, hi, Josh.
So I'm more like you. I'm more of a later person, and if I'm have to be a morning, a lot of corporations want you to be, a lark bird. It's like, so I actually I can say this now because I'm not in the corporation. I will usually find excuses to not, I'll go do this, I'll go do that anyway. But I don't know about you, but when I am in the zone, I know because I've learned that flowing is glowing. And when you're flowing, you're also flowing. And so, and people notice, we think we're hiding it. We think, everyone used to think, well, and people got to know because they could tell my energy was like dull and dim and pretty shitty in the mornings. But by the time I have my salad and do my little walk and get back in the afternoon, I'm like blowing and going, and like people are like, hang on, Britt, slow down. Like they're already shot. A lot of them have already done their whole 6-hour thing, and I'm just ramping up. So and then you said something else really important. Well, 2 things. A lot of people don't realize that there is a talent called individualization. And there is also a talent called joining the dots. It's called strategy. And so I am a very unusual, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I find this absolutely critical in terms of helping people look at processes and or people engineering differently, is if you look at it from a strategic position, but take an individualization approach, it can have massive, massive. It's almost like you take pressure. It's almost like all the team are in this pressure pot and they're all trying to, I don't know, bake the potatoes or make the beans. Like they're all in their common ground trying to do, but they're just not in it together because, some of them are in the pot, some of them don't want to be in the pot. And anyway, so the ability to use your individualization, but still stick to the strategy that the team's decided, I find and that's when and I find that you have to get to both of those places first. And if you don't, you shortchange the outcome possible. The second thing is you're ultimately not going to give the best value to your customer. And then the third thing is you always make all the executives frustrated because they say, oh, well, this stuff doesn't work. Well, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work unless you do it properly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's exactly right. And when you said individualization, like that made me think, like, I don't know if you're a strengths guy or have you done your strengths assessment? Like individualization is in my top 5.
Mine too. So I'm strategy, individualization, communication, ideation, and then guess what? I have data in there as well, which means that I am truly yin and yang. So strategy is 1 and analytical is 5. So I literally am north-south on the magnet.
Yeah.
And why that's important and to know that is I wasted about 10 years of my career doing all the wrong stuff. I didn't understand it. And then I also probably frustrated a lot of people, a lot of teams more than I should have because I'm what they used to call a seagull manager. So, I can be flying above the beach, looking at all the yachts, and then all of a sudden I come out of the sky down onto the sand and ask somebody, well, what's that grain of sand doing there? It used to drive people nuts because and that's the analytical. So strategy was 1, and people didn't get it. And then when I said to them, look, I think I'm like I'm a magnet north south. I can think strategy and analytical in parallel. So if you want to go here to analytical, I'll hang with you. But when we're in the analytical, I'm going to be thinking, okay, is this still strategically in alignment with where we want to go? And that drives people nuts because they'll say, like, where are you going? Like, so I lose people pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what are your other top 5? We're among the 8%. We're the rare 8% with,
I did not know that.
Individualization is absolutely. Yep.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I'm sure communication is in there as well.
I know they're on my LinkedIn profile. So here, I'll just pull it up real quick on my phone because I know I have that in my about section. So my top 5 are developer, learner, individualization, restorative, and empathy.
Okay. You are an amazing facilitator.
I love it.
I know you do, because that's the empathy, the restorative, developing people at an individual level. Yeah, so if you want to learn, I have a really good colleague. Her name's Brandy Schrady, and she actually takes the Clifton or Gallup strengths, and she's turned it into her own ology. She calls it strengthology. So, so Brandy's actually developed an app around the Clifton strengths, and she is pretty far along in being able to not only take individual top 5s, her app can put them together in different scenarios of putting all the different people together. So what it allows the manager or the executive to do is they can look at them individually as individuals, but they can look at what's the cohesive collective of all these different strengths, but more importantly, where's my gap?
Yes.
So she can identify with her app for the manager and the executive very quickly where your gap is, and then they go get what they're missing instead of developing more of what they've already got.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I'll be happy to introduce you. She's she's on the same time zone. She's in Dallas, Texas, DFW area. And in fact, I saw her in person back in March. We went to the IndyCar race there together. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah,
hey, Enrique from Florida.
Yeah.
I'm from down in Florida. Not seen
Good
Enrique.
to see you.
Hey, Enrique, I'm going to be in Kissimmee on end of the month, meeting with Dr. Christine Nguyen. So not sure how far that is from you, man, but we'll see. Yes, I'm harmony. He's harmony, relator, belief, responsibility, and communication. Yeah, Enrique and I got communication in common. So it's funny because I find that all of my live guests always have at least one of my top 5 talents.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like gravitates to like.
Well, actually, it's what I now call my jive hive. So the people that I invite to be guests have to fit in my jive hive, and so they have to jive with me, common ground in some way. And then the hive came from, actually, it was Dr. Alexander Rosso who came up with, well, I was calling it Jive Tribe, which I'm in Arizona, so I have to be a little careful with the indigenous people here. So I didn't want to be offensive. So she said, call it Jive Hive, because, you know, good honey bees, a good team of worker bees make a really good honey hive. And it's absolutely right. So it's a great visual, huh?
It is. It's good, and it rhymes. You can't go wrong with rhyming.
Yeah, Jive Hive. I love, you know, simpler, faster, better, process cleaner. Yeah. Guy in the blue shirt.
So how did you get to be the guy in the blue shirt?
Okay, so I didn't get to be him. I was christened him. And I was christened him by Gracie Ruth Melendez. And Gracie Ruth Melendez, when I lived in California, we used to do LinkedIn locals in person. And Gracie could never remember my last name. And sometimes she couldn't get my first name either. And I heard her say a couple of times, oh, just go ask that guy in the blue shirt. And after she said it a few times, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I actually sponsored the appetizers at one of her LinkedIn locals that she ran. And, you know, she did thank the sponsors. And she had a blank out on my name. She said, oh, the guy in the blue shirt did the, and it's like, you know, it's the first time in public. It's like, you know, and the morning after I added it to my profile, and it's, I don't know, it's just taken on a persona and a life of its own. And it is interesting because the guy in the blue shirt does have, he's my outward looking part, because I'm an ambivert. So behaviorally introverted, highly trained extrovert. So I need a lot of recharge time after I've done things, especially workshops. So, you know, I've done 2 or 3 days of 8 or 10 hour workshops. I need, like, I don't want to talk to anyone for a week.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Got to have time to recharge.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Michelle is going to be a future guest, and she is an amazing young lady. Yes. And she says, love Gracie Ruth Melendez. We have Gracie in common. So yeah.
Awesome. I will have to look them up.
Oh, I have the best people, Julie. It's funny. And the people that don't jive with me, I used to early on, 3 years or so ago, I used to get kind of, I guess, a little hurt when I wanted to always be good for everybody. But I don't know about your numbers, but my numbers are, I'm going to jive with 8% of people. And then the other 92% I'm not. And it's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean I'm crazy. It just means that you cannot jive with 100% of the people.
Absolutely not.
All the time. And that's my numbers. I know that I'm at 8 out of 100, and 92 are fine people. They can be click connections or just connections, but they're never going to be meaningful connections. Absolutely never. So
yeah, and it's okay. Like, we don't have to be that person for everyone. And I think that's been something hard for me to learn, because I am
you're a pleaser.
I am a people pleaser. That is 100%. I was trying to think of a different way to say it, but there's no other way to say it.
Right.
And so realizing that if I'm not the right fit for somebody, like, to not take that personally has taken some work. Yeah. But it's important to recognize that. Yeah, not everybody's cup of tea, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, Michelle. And hey, Michelle, I got tea. in my blessed cup. We talked about tea before you hopped on. So
yes.
And Julie's got supercharged
and
coffee. So
I've got supercharged coffee.
Yeah, I know. Her poor sister. Are the kids with you, or is it just you and sister?
My kids and my husband are outside swimming. So
oh well,
that's why it's quiet in here, because I said you guys go swim while I do my live, and everybody will be happy.
Well, I'm so blessed. You're giving up some swim time with your kids and hubby. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but it's always fun when you can talk. Don't you find it fun when you can talk with somebody who's more alike to you than disalike? It's just like the time just flies.
It does. And the conversation flows, and you're not like, you don't get those awkward spaces where it's like, I don't really get what they're talking about, but okay. So yeah, no, it's nice when you have those people that you do have common ground and connection with, and you can have those conversations that aren't forced, because everybody can tell when the conversation is forced.
Yeah, well, you go back to your stock questions, like, you know, so what's your hobby?
I don't.
All right, you go back to instead of the more meaningful, like, hey, how might you address, non-performers in a cross-functional team? So that's a great question. How do you? Because we were talking about cross-functional, multidisciplinary teams. Those are the hard. I don't know about you. They're the most enjoyable ones to work with, but they are definitely the hardest to facilitate.
For sure.
So, tell us about tell us about your favorite aha moment. I've had several. So, and the aha moment when. Tell us about a recent one in cross-functional team activity that was so rewarding.
Okay. Trying to think. I do like Michelle's answer. Tell them to go home. So I could be on board with that. Just leave. Just leave.
Yeah.
I think especially when it comes to those non-performers, I love, and I'm kind of deviating from your question, no. I love visiting with them and figuring out why. And like figuring out, all right, tell me your side of the story. Like, tell me your perspective, because like, I don't remember where I read it or saw it, but it stuck with me. It says, no matter how flat a pancake is, it still has two sides.
It does.
And so it behooves you to talk and learn and go into the conversation with a curious mind and heart, and not only seeing the situation through your own lens.
Right.
And so visiting with them and figuring out, all right, tell me your side, how you view things. And then you can say, all right, now here's what I have observed, and see if there is alignment, or maybe if they are just completely off the mark, or they haven't had the guidance that they needed, or they didn't feel comfortable asking questions. And sometimes they're just a dud. It happens. But I have found more often than not, there have been other contributing factors to the non-performance. Yeah. And I think people deserve chances. And sometimes if they are unaware of, if even the expectations haven't been laid out clearly, or they're unaware that they're not meeting expectations, then how on earth are they supposed to change if they don't even know it? And so having those difficult conversations and getting everything out in the open, I think, is huge, because it can lead to the aha moments for them, because maybe they're like, oh, I had no idea that was the expectation, or that's the way it was supposed to be done, or whatever. So I think when it comes to non-performers, that's where I would start. As far as aha moments, the ladies that I talked about earlier about why she and her husband fight on the weekends, like, that was a huge one that has stuck with me, and everybody can relate to it. Because it's like, oh yeah, like, most people probably have a significant other of some sort, or somebody they spend a lot of time with and butt heads with occasionally. And it's like, oh, you're not just being an a-hole. Like, that's the way you're wired.
Right.
So I love finding those moments when people are like, oh, so that's why I am the way I am.
Sure. So are you okay for time? Because I wanted to share one of mine. Because So little context, strong union environment, underperforming team. They were assembling highly technical products. And I had 8 weeks to come up with, and the scope of the project was, how are we going to change the flow of the assembly around to meet the new customer's demand. So 8 weeks is pretty tough anyway. High union environment is always really tough. Very traditional industry, so even more tougher.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I usually do my walkabouts. I always walk the process, do it every day. And I was only like day or 1 or 2, and this guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, you don't know me," he said, "but I'm the shop steward." He said, "Don't jack around with our process too much." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he walked away. So
okay.
So the following day I found out who he was, and everyone said, "Oh my God, you don't want to work, don't listen to anything that guy says, don't work with him. He's Mr. Negative. He always puts, blockers on everything we try and do for improvement and all that." It's like, okay, so what does he do? And they said, "Well, he's just negative." So, okay. So all of that first week, I would swing by his workstation. I'd say hi, and he'd say hi. Walk away. So by the end of 5 days of just saying hi, I just said to him, and I won't call him by his real name, I said, "Hey," I said, what do you do at the weekend?" He said, "Well, what business is that of yours?" I said, "I'm just interested. What do you do at the weekend?" I said, "Yes, I coach Little League at the church." And I said, "Really?" I said, so I started to say, "Why do you enjoy doing that?" And he said, "Well, I can use, some of the things I enjoy doing." So I got it anyway, after a lot of, so this dialogue continued all of the following week. And by that time I was ready. Oh, and the other context is I told the executive, "I will do this as long as I pick the cross-functional team to go do it." And he said, "Okay." So day 10 was the day when I had to go back to executive and say, "Here's my team that I want. I need them for the next 7 weeks. And here's the work, here's the time I need them, blah, blah, blah." And I put this guy's name on the list. Yes. He said, "Are you nuts?" I said, "No, I really, really want him on the team." Anyway, fast forward, he was really, really standoffish. I did my daily chats with him. It turned out that he was never, ever asked by any of his supervisors or managers what he was interested in. He was never heard. So he used to be the negative Nigel to get attention. He was craving attention, and nobody gave him an opportunity to use his leadership skills, which is why he became the shop steward rep, because he could lead other people that way. And they missed it. Anyway, fast forward to the final presentation. The day of the presentation, he came in, he showed up at the boardroom, and he came in a shirt and tie. He opened the door and nobody recognized him. Talk about aha moment. It was like nobody recognized him. And he led off in the presentation because I asked him to. And he had them in the first 5 minutes. The rest of the information didn't make any difference because the executive realized, oh my goodness, this guy is on board. If he's on board, we can change whatever we want to do. It's going to happen. And yeah, he just blew everybody away. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
It's amazing what people can do when they're given a chance to be heard and then given an opportunity to grow into what they could be.
Right. Well, it was being seen because nobody saw him. Well, sorry, that's not true. They only saw him as negative Nigel. They only saw him as defensive because he was protecting the benefits of his team. And that's what good leaders do, right? But it was seen as negative because he was on the other side of management. And nobody on the leadership team had taken the time to get to know him. If they'd just taken time to get to know him, they would have understood what his why was. And when I understood what his why was, I said, okay, do you want to use some of that at work? Wouldn't it be fun to get paid for some of that instead of having to do it at the church for free?
Yeah.
So yeah,
for sure.
Understand somebody's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
it's an amazing story. I love
it. And my other trick is, particularly if I'm doing a waste reduction project, I always go work with the janitor or the person taking the trash out or whatever. So all those people that do the janitorial work, always go work with them every day. Go talk with them, because it's amazing. They see where all the waste comes from.
For sure.
And 80% of the time they know how to fix it as well.
Yep. They're just given an opportunity to share.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many executives don't even say good morning to them, right? Because they're kind of in the background, they're in the, they just empty the trash, or they just go churn up all the waste. And it's like, no, they see where all your waste is coming from. They know where it is.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely is somebody just something.
You bet. In fact, it's impossible for us to be just something. One thing, right?
Absolutely.
Because first of all, we have 2 ears and 2 eyes, so we're at least 4 things, right?
For sure.
Hey, Wendy. Okay, so Wendy's in the feed. Thanks. Not seen Wendy for a while. She has an amazing little invention. So
very cool.
You go see what Wendy's up to.
I will do that.
Yeah. And Michelle, as I said, she's yes. Yeah, they are the experts. You are spot on there, Michelle. We are just the conduits. If we do our job correctly, we just shine the light on the experts, and it's like you said about the pancake, right? All the ingredients in the pancake are multidiscipline, multifaceted. So a good facilitator just mixes the pancake and let it do its work, let it rise, let it get tasty. Its thing. Yeah, let it do its thing in the process that pancakes are made in, right?
For sure. I love pancakes.
So actually, I do, but they don't love me, so I'm trying to be a good boy. So
well, traditional pancakes don't love me, so I have a different pancake recipe that I make that does love me instead. So
you want to share that?
It's made. Yeah, it's made with coconut flour, almond flour, and tapioca flour.
Oh, good ones.
And a bunch of eggs, and it's sweetened with either honey or pure maple syrup.
Ooh, all right, very much more natural. Hey, you have to throw that in the comments after. You can do that on replay. How about that?
I will do that. I will go look up the recipe and paste it in there.
All right, why not? So the Julie Griffin Pancake Special. What a benefit.
Right? You never know what you're going to get.
Especially with me hosting lives, you never know what you're going to get. That's sure.
I think that's the beauty of lives, I think, is because they do have a tendency to take on their own path, and it's not as structured, and that's what makes it fun, because it's a live conversation. And it's just like if you were visiting with somebody in real life, you're not going to stick to some crazy script. Like, you build that relationship and you take the conversation where it goes naturally. So
I know. I tell people, they say, well, why do you invest so much time and not really get compensated for it? It's like, it's simple. I go to Global University twice a week. I get to learn from amazing people, my guests, from all over the planet in all different industries. And I get Global University training twice a week, and it's amazing. It's amazing what I learn and I understand. Yes, Wendy Boyles. All right. Oh, you're already coming. Look at you, multitasking. See, so Julie is way more advanced than me. I'm simpler, faster, better. I can only do one thing at a time. All right.
I should probably only do one thing at a time, but I'm obsessed. No. So
hey, well, you got 2 ears and 2 eyes. So
I do.
About, you can do. I'm not so good, and that's the other important thing about being a good leader, right? Know thy limitations, right?
Absolutely.
And I always used to try and fake being a great multitasker when I sucked at it, and then people used to expect you to be a great multitasker, and I used to suck at it more. So, so in the end, it's like, no, I give up. I am not a great multitasker. Let me find somebody who is. And then let me figure out how to build that relationship with them. I'm a great strategist. I'm a great dot joiner. I'm a great come up with no box thinking around ideas, around solutions. You know, that's me. That's my jive. That's where I thrive in all that stuff. Not, you know, and I can do analytical. I don't love the data piece, but I get bored with the data. It's like, ugh, it's like, how many more data points do I have to look at?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great point, and it kind of goes back to where we started the conversation about knowing yourself and knowing where your strengths are and where they're not, and being comfortable enough to admit when it's something is not your strength and you need somebody else to kind of balance out that need. Because you can't be everything. And I'm a really great number 2 person. Like I will work behind the scenes. I will support that person with all the ideas and then go back and do it. Like that is my jam. So,
execution. The executioner. All right. New nickname, Julie.
The executioner. I think I'll stick with Joyful Julie.
I love it. Yeah. It could be a little extreme. You know, I had to shorten process whiz because I used to say I'm a process wizard, and people used to look at me like, what do you mean? And but that came from another story. Wizard is I used to get called Kiyoshi when I was working in the Toyota production system, because Kiyoshi is an honor. It means to be a process wizard. And anyway, so that's why I don't use process wizard. I'd love to, but here in the USA, it'd be like, I'm not sure. So that's why I shortened it to process whiz. So, but
I said that works too.
Yeah, it does. Hey, you know, and yes, I do have a magic wand sometimes, at least at joining the dots. So I am really, really good at intuitively joining the dots and fathoming out a solution when solutions seem impossible to come up with. So that's my jam.
That's good.
That's my bright eyes. If you want these blue eyes to get really big and really shiny, put me in that environment, and I'll do work like crazy till I come up with the solution. So, all right. So what do you got coming up, Julie? Joyful Julie.
That's me, Joyful Julie. I am working on putting together either workshop or one-on-one training / coaching opportunities. Because traditionally my work has been with like companies, and I've got so many connections on LinkedIn and even in real life, and everybody can benefit from recognizing their strengths and areas of improvement when it comes to time management and productivity. And so I'm working on putting together something where I can work with people individually, either on a one and done or an ongoing basis, to help just get the word out and help more people. So that's kind of what's on the horizon. Nothing is super fleshed out yet. But that's what's going to be coming.
I can refer a resource if you need one for that.
Okay.
Actually, it's Veronica. Veronica helped me put together, you know, how do I take 48 years worth of stuff in here and put it into my Ignite program. Ignite is an acronym for my 6-module self-paced process improvement approach. And with some guided help from me, as little or as much as people want. But it's so it's about that individualization, you know, recognizing that some people are going to learn on their own a lot better, and some people are going to learn with a little push or pull and push from me, or guidance or facilitated guidance, however it is. So each individual or I find that each cross-functional or multidisciplinary team takes on a character of its own. I've not worked with any cross-functional team that's been characteristically identical. They're always a little bit different in all sorts of ways. So anyway, so Veronica was somebody that really helped me with that, because I was definitely stuck in my head, definitely stuck around methodology of taking it from in-person to digital. So yeah, because I'm an old-fashioned analog guy. You know, I only started becoming digital 3 years ago. So
I understand.
It's easy to get stuck.
And, it is. It is. The other thing I've got coming, which I haven't fleshed out yet either, but I had been doing evening lives on Tuesday evenings. And my last one was the end of June, like the last Tuesday in June. And I want to pick those back up, but with daytime shows. Okay. Because going into fall and kids football and practice schedules and everything, I couldn't commit to Tuesday nights. So trying to come up with a schedule for daytime shows. And we'll be seeking guests for that. Hopefully pick up in September.
Well, I don't know if this helps, but I used to do a lunchtime one on a Monday at one time. And that was always pretty good. It seemed to, because people that might be in corporate or might be in, you know, I used to pick, and I think it's either 11:30 or 12 Pacific, so or a little earlier. And because again, a lot of people on the East Coast tend to take a little later lunch, so seemed to work pretty good. So yeah, cool. So yeah, lunchtime seemed to be a good fit for a lot of people that could, you know, walk away, go look at it in the car or whatever. And hey, they can always catch it #replay, right?
Right. I'm always team replay.
Team replay. Oh yeah. No excuse, right? Can always catch it later.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So bear with me. I'm going to say, I'm going to do my little plug because I can't remember ever what to say. So here's mine. Don't go away.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse. And the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better. So you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
I bet those chords were jarring on your brain, right?
I liked them.
Devin did a great job for me. I told him because what I wanted to do is I find that people have to be in that emotional state before they'll take the decision to want to get help or ask for help or both.
100%.
Yeah. I call it on the tippy toes of the burning platform, right? You're not going to do anything different until you're on the edge of that burning platform. So it's a shame, but it is the way it is. And
it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, any final words, Julie? Joyful Julie.
Joyful Julie, that's me. I mean, I've enjoyed the time. I appreciate you inviting me on, and anybody who's watching, go ahead and connect with me. I love building my network, and if you're a friend of Bruce's, you'll probably be a friend of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in the Jive Hive, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Hang on a minute, Julie.
All right, thank you. See ya.
Bye.